we're going to cover 529 plans versus IULs. And some of you may be asking, why is this even a subject we want to cover to begin with? And to be frank, it's because most clients have limited funds. They only have so much that they can put into different types of asset classes. And then they have to make the choice of how they want to use those funds and what vehicle they want to use for them. So really, when they're looking at a college education for their children, these are two ways that they are able to fund that education, both with some positives and negatives, and we're going to cover those for you. So we're going to go over some of the features, benefits, and drawbacks of both 529 plans and IULs. We're going to do a comparison of the concepts with some cold hard numbers to kind of reinforce the information that we're going to go over at a high level. And then at the end, we're going to cover some when to sell which. So first off, we're going to talk through 529 features and benefits. So 529 plan, you're going to get that tax deferred growth and a tax-free qualified withdrawals. And the qualified withdrawals from 529 plans are, of course, educational expenses. The product is structured for these educational expenses. And I will say that versus IUL, you will generate more cash value in early years. And most times, barring a massive market correction right before a withdrawal was to happen, you'll have more cash value at the start and end of your college payment years. 529 plans also have lower fees, some to be close to zero. There are some drawbacks though. If you are going to take any type of withdrawal, there is going to be a 10% penalty for a non-education withdrawal. It may suffer losses because it is a investment-backed vehicle, so it does have exposure to the market. So with that said, you are going to get that upside of the market, but you can also get that downside, and especially where those happen in the timing of it can affect the overall performance. Whether those down years happen at the start or at the end, that can really affect the 529's performance. What I'm going to focus on for a brief moment as a major drawback to these is the fact that it's considered an asset on FAFSA. So when you're actually applying for the aid, when you're listing out everything that you have that is able to have, help pay, that, they ask, hey, what can the parents contribute? A 529 plan is going to have to be listed as one of those assets that is able to contribute to funds, which means that, the child in question may have less assistance, may be able to get qualified for less loans, and this can also affect, performance-based scholarships, where two otherwise equal candidates, a school may weigh that the one that does not have a 529 plan as the winner of that scholarship versus somebody that has the means to pay for that merit-based scholarship in other ways. So it's definitely something to think about because, like I said, this is educational focused, and one of the things that it's focused on, it actually counts against. In contrast, when you're looking at an IUL, you're still going to have that same tax deferred growth, and you can have tax-free withdrawals when structured correctly, which means, loans on the policy. It is a policy that's structured for multiple purposes. So unlike 529, which is locked into gaining the most benefit from college education or other educational related expenses, in IUL, you're going to have access to those funds for any type of need that you have. Another thing, and what most importantly, it is shielded from the FAFSA. So because it is a death benefit product and it's a life insurance product, when you're listing all your assets, to qualify for financial aid, it's not something that you have to list. Even though you can access the cash value to pay for college, it's not something you have to list as a asset that would count against you. It does add added death benefit protection, which really is something that I think goes maybe a little underserved when talking about these type of plans. So we're going to go into some more numbers and some deep dive into these plans a little later, but these are going to assume, funding for 15 years. Well, what happens if the client can only fund for 3 years and then the unfortunate happens and they end up passing? Well, 529 plan, you've only had those 3 years of contributions, and then you have to hope that that can grow into what you need. Whereas in IUL, you're going to have that death benefit protection that's going to be that payout that you can then choose to put away for college expenses in the future. Another thing about IULs is they can provide an income stream, and we'll show an example of that as well later. I will note that, dollar for dollar, when you're comparing these two types of assets against each other, an IUL is going to have less cash value in the early years, due to, surrender charges and just the fact that you have to pay for that death benefit. Life insurance as itself does come with fees attached. And so those fees do put a drain on kind of that cash value that you'll have. And then there will be some less cash value at the start of the college payments. Now, these both sound like drawbacks, but really when we take a real world example, it's not as drastic as it's making it out in these bullet points. But I do want to mention that if you're looking at dollar for dollar, life insurance will have less of a cash value, and that's because you're having something that's a little more protective. The fact that the 529 is market-based, you are able to get those home runs, but you also have those down years, so that additional risk should come with additional rewards.